Let's talk to spokesman at Republicans Overseas UK, Erol Morkoc, who joins us right now. Good morning to you, Erol.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for having me. Well, you're looking a lot happier than an awful lot of the people who've been on British TV screens overnight on the various podcasts. I mean, a virtual lefty meltdown at the vote for Donald Trump. Why do you think he won?
I think he won because he spoke to the American people about the clear and present issues in their life. He didn't speak about, the past. He didn't use like divisive rhetoric in the same way the left did in this campaign.
He uses a lot of divisive rhetoric.
Oh, he does, but he somehow became the joyful warrior towards the end of the campaign, and her campaign went down the abortion, Hitler, Nazis line, which didn't sell to anybody. Then they made an alliance with Dick Cheney, the least popular person ever, so we made this great trade. I honestly am baffled that they ran a campaign like this. We couldn't be more grateful to the Democrat Party, to their operatives, to their like the whole mechanism. All those people who said she's qualified, like everybody. Thank you so much. It was very hard to win anyway, but that really brought it home for us.
Yeah, it is extraordinary. These polls were neck and neck, but a lot of commentators were saying, okay, the polls could be neck and neck in terms of it's too close to call, well within the margin of error for polling, but you can still see a very strong victory in either direction. As it is, it does look like from really early hours in the morning that it was going to be and will be Donald Trump. He's taken, we think pretty much he's going to take all the key swing states. His vote is up. Now, one of the key things is he did tell his supporters back in 2020, don't vote early. We know 80 million people voted before polling day actually began yesterday, as he got his vote out early. But we heard so much, didn't we, in the mainstream media that, and online, Kamala Harris is getting those young women out to vote. They're coming out. People are really feeling strongly. The abortion issue, you say, very big issue. This is all about the future of democracy. This is existential for America's constitutional future. It does appear that American voters kind of shrugged at all of that and went, yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump. Why?
Because it was so dramatic. I mean, even little things. There was this trope going around that your Republican husband was going to browbeat you into voting Democrat. And by the way, no Democrat husband would do that, just the evil right-wing husband. And all these like Stepford wives who are abused were gonna go to the polls and take their revenge on who? Their own family, who they love and don't want to leave, and all that. So the messaging was so awful from the left, and it demonized so many people in such bizarre ways. And eventually you ended up having an alliance of, the Muslims in Dearborn coming out and voting with Donald Trump. You had the Amish coming out for the first time. You didn't have an Amish vote. Now you have an Amish vote. Good luck polling those guys. So it's just they didn't see it. They didn't understand the American people, and they thought that they could basically coronate yet again somebody, which they tried with Hillary Clinton,
And it didn't work then. It was fascinating, the excitement over, say, the celebrity endorsements. Oh, it's Oprah. I mean, oh, shocker. Oprah's supporting the Democrat candidate. Taylor Swift coming out. Game changer, people are saying. I mean, people were losing their minds over these big-name endorsements from popular celebrities. And again, we had big-name endorsements for Hillary Clinton in 2016, and we had she had way more money in her campaign than Donald Trump did in his in 2016. And both times the candidate lost. How much do you think is just down to, well, not necessarily the campaign, but the candidate herself? Because Hillary Clinton, for all her, she's very unlikable character, but actually competent, highly intelligent. She had a track record. There was, that she was a viable candidate at least. But Kamala Harris, I mean, again, very recently elected senator. Didn't make it in the primary for the Republican nomination in 2020, didn't even get the first vote, chosen because explicitly stated she was a black woman, absolute non-entity failure as a vice president, and then suddenly touted as, the savior of the human race when they decided that Biden was just too senile to carry on. Basically, they couldn't hide that, her actual, her personality and her frankly complete vapid brain from the American public very long, could they?
No, she was too inauthentic. She wasn't a real candidate. She didn't come across to voters. Her laugh was very off-putting. And in the end, the American voters is a sophisticated person. They treated us like rubes. They thought like J-Lo was going to convince people who look like J-Lo. That's not how that works. That's not how any of this works. And the chickens come home to roost, and he who laughs last laughs best. And in this case, it's Donald Trump.
How significant do you think the choice of his deputy, his vice presidential candidate in J.D. Vance was? Because again, equally, only been a senator for for a few years, but a self-made man, really impressive sort of American dream sort of history from absolute abject poverty, very difficult background, and then rising, to basically, being self-made millionaire, very successful businessman, and then going into the political world. How much of a role do you think the choice of J.D. Vance did that play in Donald Trump's victory, if any?
Massive. He's a millennial, right? He's 39 years old. He's pro-Bitcoin. He understands the podcast world, and he speaks to young men, and he speaks to that American dream to go from kind of nothing to something and to really make something of yourself. And the American people resonated with his hillbilly elegy story, just like they resonated with him as a Senate candidate and as a VP candidate. They tried to castigate him as weird. He ended up just being a nice family guy, and people like that.
Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it, the Democrat casting of him as weird. And I was watching his speeches thinking, comes across quite well to me. I don't agree with him on everything, but again, saying that, family is important. Well, yeah, it used to be the case that all politicians said that. What about the influence of people like Elon Musk? I mean, he's been going full tilt with him. We had that Joe Rogan podcast that endorsed Donald Trump as well. We also had Robert F. Kennedy, who had been standing as an independent candidate. I mean, a member of the Kennedy family, of all people in the Democrat, the sons of the Democrat Party. Basically coming out for Donald Trump. We know that Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy are going to play a role in the Trump administration. How significant is that, and what do we expect from those two players in particular?
Oh, it's very significant. Elon Musk is an innovator, probably one of our greatest immigrants, and him leading the way in efficiency and cutting down waste, coupled with RFK Jr. doing the healthcare and the MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, taking on pharmaceutical companies. That's what the people want. We want our best and brightest to be in the government, and that's what RFK Jr. and Elon Musk add in different capacities. And it obviously resonated with the voters. I like it. Everybody I know likes it, and we want to see what they can bring home, because they've been very successful in their professional lives. Let's do it with the public.
Now, we know one of the key things about the American democratic system set up by the Constitution very deliberately is this sort of separation of power. But we've got a case now where it looks like, as things go now, Donald Trump will have both the White House and the Senate and the House of Representatives, and of course he's got the Supreme Court. He's got that conservative, very solid conservative majority on the Supreme Court as well. He can pretty much do anything he wants to do at this point. What is he going to do?
Well, I think he's going to do his immigration policy and actually get some of the deportations going for illegal immigrants. He's going to maybe have much more control of the U.S. border than he had. This is the first time that those branches of government also are all aligned with Donald Trump. He had it a little bit last time briefly, and it wasn't really his. I think his ability to end the war and negotiate and take decisive action geopolitically won't be hindered now if he has all three branches. So you're going to see.
You mean Ukraine?
Yeah, Ukraine, going over there and actually,
well, it depends on Zelensky and the Ukrainian people deciding to give away part of their territory. I always wonder with this when people suggest this. How much of America would you be willing to give away to Putin?
Well, the question is, was America invaded and had no defense for itself, and another country was defending it? And at some point,
I don't think any American soldiers are shedding blood in Ukraine, are they?
Not officially, but I think the point is, if you said if America was invaded, so I was referring to that.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I'm just saying, I'm always fascinated. Yeah, you should definitely do a deal. But how much land would America give away?
I don't think any country wants to give any land away. Exactly. But when you lose it in conquest to one of the largest nuclear powers in the world, you probably have to negotiate with them.
Or Trump presidency could be strong enough and have the military, the economy. He's got all the weapons of the world. He could offer more support to Zelensky and ensure a victory.
No, we don't want a perpetual war. That's what our voters didn't want. Absolutely not. We want to end the conflict. Okay. We want to bring about peace, and that's just our policy.
Do you think things will change in the Middle East?
Yeah, I mean, you have to point to track record. You know, the Abraham Accords were something that was very real and tangible results. And obviously, the situation in Gaza is a catastrophe on all accounts. And you need somebody who's in there, again, who's going to make deals between unsavory people in unsavory circumstances. And people will have to give and take in places they don't want to. And that's the art of the deal. And thankfully, he wrote that book.
Well, he didn't. Someone else wrote it for him, to be fair. We know that. Just finally, want to ask you about the criminal charges. He's got a sentencing hearing pending, Donald Trump. He's got, of course, he won't be president until January next year. He's got 3 other sets of criminal charges pending against him. What happens to those once he becomes president?
I think they go away. Mostly, a lot of them were kind of shaky.
Because he's talked about sacking the prosecutors who brought them.
He might sack some people he can. The DOJ definitely could change their course. I don't think those cases are going to have a lot of legs now. That's what I would say.
Is it right and fair that someone shouldn't face justice, whatever that is, however the court cases would go, because they've been elected president? Should those cases be put on hold until after his term?
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose based on the fact that that's what's going on, and it seems like a lot of those charges weren't exactly above board in our perspective either.
Okay. Just finally, in terms of the reaction of the left, both here and in America, the reaction of CNN, NBC, everywhere, given their, let's face it, blatant bigging up of Kamala Harris, their covering up of Joe Biden's senility, his dementia, for months, possibly even years on end, and then the sort of wide-eyed clapping for Kamala Harris that was certainly totally blatant. What do you make of their reaction?
It's it's show business. They're drawing in their viewers however they can. I mean, I believe that they believe in their own sorrow, but a bunch of PC malcontent theater kids LARPing on television doesn't really surprise me. I didn't expect much from them, and I certainly won't continue to.
Very good. Erol Morkoc, spokesman for Republicans Overseas UK. Thank you very much indeed for that.